I'm with, quite possibly, and I don't want to underplay this, the most knowledgeable man in the paddock when it comes to anything historic karting. I'm sure there'll be one or two in your club that will try and challenge you for that. But Gary, thank you for taking the time once again to walk us around what is going to be some fantastic machinery. I make no apologies for not knowing about some of these karts, but that's the good thing. I'll be asking the questions that everybody else at home will also want to know. But we'll start, if we're okay, with this wonderful bit of kit.
Thanks for giving us some time. You guys do a great job at Alpha, as always. I want to start off with the kart here. It's a 1999 Parolin. It's called a Parolin Revolution. I mean, you look at most modern karts, they're all very, very similar. If you look at this one on the front end, if you look at it can flex. It's a very, very strange setup, something that you will not see in modern karting. Lots of things got tried and changed and tested over the years, and this is something that people will try back in the day. Whether it worked or not, we don't know. But it's Toby Sinclair's, and again, a very unusual engine on the Sonic. And the weird thing with this is, back in the 90s, they had rotary valve engines, and they then went to reed motors. This particular engine, you can actually run it as either. Quick 10-minute change, take the side cover off, pull the reed valve out, and you can put a rotary valve in there. So depending on what circuit you're at, you could use it for different events.
The noticeable things for me, first of all, if you look now, is that modern karts sort of stop here at the front. They've got a central bar all the way through there, but also the stub axle looks... Yeah. It's sort of heading towards that modern era of a stub axle, whilst also maintaining quite a lot of intricacy.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is for the camber and caster, and you see pills on the modern karts. Early stuff, they didn't have any pills at all. Various manufacturers did different ways of altering, you know, cambers and casters. You look on the kart next to it, there's another method of doing the camber and caster on a really early system here with the rose joints. You know, we'll alter the camber and the caster. Lots of different ways of doing it. So yeah, a couple of direct drive karts. And then these karts are Formula C outfits, sort of like mid-90s. Formula C is currently what we've got as KZ today. So the modern KZ class, these are where it derived from. Very, very competitive stuff. You know, absolutely phenomenal bits of machinery to drive. 6 gears, like the current KZs. And 4 brakes, front and rear, just phenomenal bits of kit. Just probably about 45 horsepower.
You can tell in terms of chassis layout, this is sort of heading into that sort of transition to modern era in terms of very little in terms of the chassis layout has changed since the mid-2000s in terms of, you know, the chassis coming in and the way the side pod bars are. These are still mounted towards the front end on the side pod bar and does look quite robust down the rear end as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, 32mm tube. Like you said, they're heading towards what we know today as the modern karts. So yeah, another example, very similar. All different chassis arrangements and layouts. So
let's go left, Gary. I don't want to miss these out before we head inside the awning. We looks like we're going back quite a fair bit here.
Yeah. So again, 80s, late 80s. Yeah, late 80s style kart. Mark Ryman drives this one. Martin. Yeah, Martin drives this one. I just want to say thanks to this guy as well. Mark put so much effort into this event, looking after the grounds. Phenomenal amount of work this guy does, so thanks.
I'm glad that. Ryman's family sponsoring the fastest lap trophies this weekend as well. So,
yeah, brilliant. Good to see these early karts out there.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you. So again, probably a 70s style kart.
I mean, we're not short of grip there, are we, Gary?
Definitely not, no.
That's picking up.
That's what I mean. So we're getting some heat in the tyres and it's picking stuff up.
It looks like he's gone out on new rubber there and collected some more. But yeah, very sticky. Yeah. Again, another early karts. DAP, probably familiar with like Senna and people like that, would be racing this kind of era. We're going to talk about that later because we've got a special kart in there for you to look at.
Those from modern era karting will be flabbergasted that there are no side pods.
Absolutely.
Or any form of nose at the front.
No, yeah, no bodywork, no nose cone penalties back in the day. It was just pure racing. You know, open wheel basically, as close as you could get. I mean, even earlier than this kart, if you look behind you, there's not even got any Nerf bars on this kart. You can see on this one, it's got the chrome Nerf bars. Again, year on year, they brought various things in for safety reasons. So
much narrower tyres. I mean,
Yeah.
almost back to where we're at now in sort of cadet racing, where we've got a really narrow front and rear. But this is obviously a senior chassis, but we're going quite a narrow front with very little sidewall flex by
Yeah.
the look of things.
yeah, absolutely. And back then, I mean, these tyres they'd probably do a season, whereas now modern karts they're putting new tyres on every meeting, at least one set. These would probably last quite a while.
Good. Well, how long have they been on?
They've lasted 50 years.
Yeah, you wouldn't get that with a set of your modern tyres.
I would love to see someone do 50 years on a set of modern tyres. Yeah. Right, let's go back. Well, let's go down here first, and then we'll go in and round if that's
Yeah,
right,
sure.
Gary. We've started to add some fairly sizable exhausts by the look of things.
Yes. So these is like early 70s, Villiers engine. Again, forward brakes, really early stuff. We're talking like Nigel Mansell era.
Yeah.
You know-
Central mounted rear fuel tank.
Yeah. Gravity fed tank. Yeah, very basic. Coil very similar to what you've got on an old classic car. 12-volt battery to obviously operate it. This would have had points and condenser on it, like in the old days.
Yeah. Note as well that the track rods are mounted piggyback style, one on top of the other,
Yeah.
rather than side by side where you can sort of alter the Ackerman angle.
Yeah,
So
they didn't really have Ackerman. The only Ackerman they kind of used, I mean, if you look at the Ackerman on this, it's kind of quite straight, really. The Ackerman, most of the trailing arms there would point back towards the centre of the axle. There's zero Ackerman on that kart at all. Size of the steering wheel, you certainly had to have some arms back then to drive one of these things.
So the note as well, that steering wheel is very sort of upright
Yes.
compared to the one next to it, where you're sort of trying to give the driver less to do. That's more of a sort of a pull down. You're pushing on that, given the size of it, and you do have to work a lot harder when it's sort of almost flat to you compared to the one next to it. So there's a lot harder to work on them ones.
Yeah.
You'll notice now the steering wheels are starting to head almost sort of like to the driver's chest, given less work for them to do.
So this car, towards the end of the late 80s, they started introducing bits of bodywork and fairings. This kind of fiberglass would be the first sort of like form of bodywork that karts had. Prior to that, they would have a number on the front or a number on the NASA panel, but the NASA at the front. So yeah, very limited bodywork.
Selfishly, I'm all in for big numbers on the front from a commentator. We can see that really well. Now with the curve on the front, it's sometimes hard to see the number on the top. So I like the basic front end is good for visual at the very least.
Yeah.
They've gone modern though. That's definitely not with the period. Get that covered up.
Yes. So let's bring you over here. We've got a couple of, again, early 60 karts. Very well restored Tro kart. Again, getting parts for these, a lot of parts will have to be handmade. Again, steering arrangement. There's no such thing as a steering wheel on that kart.
No, that's a 68 Barlotti. They've got one of them, I think, in reception at Clay.
Right. Yeah.
Very similar to that, which I've admired on a couple of occasions. But I think the thing to note here, particularly on this one, is the seat.
Oh, it's very comfy.
Very comfy.
You're talking armchair. Yeah. Very comfy.
But that was the era of manufacture. These were largely in the infancy of karting, when it sort of, came out of places like this, airfield circuits and servicemen making RAF karts, and you basically used what you could.
Exactly, absolutely. The RAF was where it all started, and as you know, in the UK, a lot of these circuits are on RAF bases, and tracks are just getting harder and harder. I think with the earlier stuff, you talked about exhaust earlier. Some of these early karts are quite noisy. They don't have any air boxes on the carburetors, just straight on the side with no intake. They do produce quite a bit of noise. So we are under quite a bit of scrutiny regarding noise. And we do try our best to try and keep them as original as we can. But when they go on circuit, we have to put noise boxes and things on them so they don't look as original as they were.
That one looks like it could be used for a twin
Yes.
engine if possible.
Yeah, this would have been, so when we talk about karting, we talk about Class 1 karts, which are the 100cc direct drive, and Class 4 karts are the two common ones. This would have been what they call a Class 2 kart, which would have had two engines on it back in the day. So, yeah, a lot of these were, you know, lawnmower type engines, you know, McCullochs and West Bends and things like that from the very, very early days. This car, moving on, probably familiar with DAP. If anyone's watched the Senna film, Ayrton Senna, legend, a lot of people respect him, and this is a replica of his 1979 kart. Stunning bit of kit, restored by Darren Potter. Lovely, lovely job. And to me, I kind of grew up in this era. This kind of is quite a sought after bit of kit. Lovely, lovely machine.
I mean, just looking at that is immaculate, and I don't even think the word immaculate does it justice.
No, he's done a sterling job without doubt. Again, DAP motor, DAP chassis. Back in the day, DAP was an household name. They were top of the game, and they had people like Terry Fullerton, Ayrton Senna were teammates. Phenomenal times.
Don't see a lot of Bridgestone YDS round anymore. They
No,
a couple of years ago maybe, but they've sort of changed a little bit.
Now this particular kart is of real interest. This is Roy Collins' kart, and it is a 1960 Euro kart. Now he's had this since 1964 when he got the kart. He was in the RAF, they shipped it out to America, and they actually brought it back to him, and he's still here today with it. I think he's 81-year-old.
It's been raced as well.
It has.
It's definitely been raced. It's
It
got a
has.
little bit in the front end there where it's got a little bit excited, and quite a historic.
I mean, if we look at this is the original helmet that he would have raced. You know, I mean, I don't know what MS UK would think of something like that now.
They definitely frown upon this bit here,
Yeah.
which is it's taken some heat.
they were the original gloves that he used back in the day. And, you know, credit to him, he's kept the kart, he's maintained it, and he brings it to all our events. He's a credit to the club, is Roy. You know, and again, this is a really heavy bit of kit. Villiers 200 engine. And, yeah, he's done a really good job. Again, you can see the tyres on that one, very, very thin.
They're all. I'm drawn to the one that I've just clocked behind me. That is yellow. That is effectively very similar to the 185 in the corner. So we can look at either. I think we might go 185 just because it's got all the kit on it. That's as a rolling chassis. But you can sort of see it's sort of heading almost towards a sort of a car type chassis before we've gone back to karts.
These are what you call a ladder chassis. You know, similar to like what a Land Rover would have underneath it. Very, very rigid. And modern karts, they have like a really narrow waist where it comes in for flex. Very little flex on these things, you know, and a lot of sideways action with this kind of kart.
What I do love about this sort of era is how people have just interpreted how they're going to do stuff, and then it changes from one kart to another. But the brake system down here having this sort of effectively a pivot because it's coming in one side, and therefore one's got to travel further than the other to apply the same amount of pressure. But by doing that, allows it to have the same amount of force either side.
Absolutely, yeah. It was just, you know, engineering, different ideas, and it's their idea of like having a, like you said, even pressure.
Yeah.
If anyone's drove a car, if you didn't have this kind of arrangement on and one brake pulled, you'd go into a corner and it'd just veer and pull to one side, like you would in a car if the brakes were binding on one corner.
I mean, I may be out of line saying this, but you know that where we are now with modern karting, you know, they have effectively had everybody tries something and they take what's best and it works, and that's why at the moment we see everybody's effectively either on the same chassis or a very similar variant, or even if it's not, they've taken that chassis and made amendments to it. Whereas in this era, you could have drivers turning up from meeting to meeting with something that's completely brand new that revolutionised the way that we go racing.
Absolutely. I mean, nowadays we've got homologations and things like that that play a major part in karting. Back in this day, you could just rock up with this, you would get it scrutineered, providing it was safe, you'd be on the track, and it could be something that you've built yourself.
Yeah,
you know,
and you never know whether it's going to be 2 seconds a lap off the pace or 5 seconds in front until you've tried it.
And they did try all different ideas back then, you know. There was no homologations, and I think sometimes the homologation stuff, whilst I agree it's got to be there, it's very difficult for us to police any sort of homologations from historic periods.
But yeah, you wouldn't want to, because this is what has come through and is what has laid the foundations for what we have now.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, karting's come on, and like you say, these karts here, they were the beginning of the karting world. There's actually a Class 2 kart here.
Oh, with the 2 engines?
Yeah. On, yeah. So, yeah. So this one's Adrian Lane's kart. It's basically a skeeter kart. His dad made it. He's kept it and he's restored it with these 2 lovely West Bend engines on. And again, yeah, he's been out on track on it today, having some good fun. Again, steering wheel, butterfly style. Yeah.
Well, to be fair, you don't need any more than that. You can't put your hands once they're on, you can't move them. You don't need more than that.
No, and I think this came from the RAF kind of aeroplane style ideas. So yeah, lovely bit of kit.
Good. I've noticed the switch as well, whereas most now on your sort of twin engine karts are pull start.
Yeah.
Would that have been periodic, or has that been added later on?
They would have had to have a kill switch on them because they've got clutches on these. Yeah. So it's got a centrifugal clutch like your modern karts. So when you stop, obviously the engine just carries on running. So you would have to have some sort of switch. It's probably not as fancy as your modern karts with a nice fancy button. It's probably a little electrical engineering switch off some sort of.
The Hondas have still got the 60 pence switch on the front of the engine that the drivers flick off when they come in. So if it works, and that's the main thing.
It does the job. It's a lovely bit of kit. So yeah. And then we've got on the right hand side here, we've got what we class as in the sort of late 80s. They had a class called 100 National. To be honest, it was probably the biggest class back in the day. It would be your predominant class, where all your top drivers would be 100 National. Lots of club meetings. This would be the thing to have. Simon Wright, UK manufacturer, and we'd started to see we talk about homologations. These karts did start to become homologated.
A slight variant as well on the front end here, rather than the original, what we now know as the traditional stub axle, where this bit here and this bit here is effectively welded to the chassis.
Yes.
They've gone with straight through with the kingpin, and then the stub axle is a much bigger bit of kit. Yeah,
it's gone to like you said, that C shape, so to speak, is normally the opposite way on, and that would be on your stub axle on a conventional modern kart. These are what they call C-type stub axles. No adjustment on it, it's fixed geometry. The only way they could actually adjust anything would be make ones with different angles on, but very costly. But yeah, again, lovely bit of kit. Iami engine, made by the same people that currently make the X30s. So they've been doing engines Iami for a long time. Yeah, and as you can see, they started to put your rev counters on. This is an early data logging system. Again, they wouldn't have probably had that back on in the day. It would have had a little rev counter, with just revs only. That's all people were interested in. Well, yeah, that's all they need to know, isn't it? If it's going to blow up, that's all they, in terms of revs. So I'll just quickly finish off down at this last little bit, if that's all right. Yeah, I mean, if there's anything exciting stops us on the way, I'll stop. And then and if I stop, you've got to stop as well, Gary. That's how it works. So I don't know whether we've had Tim Parrott before on Alpha. So Tim was twice world champion in this supercar category. What an achievement that was. Absolutely phenomenal results that guy had. And he's here today, he's coaching in this day and age, and this would have been the kart that he used back then.
I mean, if we were to strip the bodywork off as well, you know, it's pretty much the kart on the on the right. So it just gives us both options. Obviously, exhaust comes out the other side, but you know, handed, it's still the same thing really. But obviously, you put the bodywork on, it just looks a different animal, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, create a lot of downforce. These engines currently, that'll be about 90 horsepower. Certainly a bit of kit, 140, 145 mile an hour machine, twin engine. You know, it's basically like 2 KZ engines.
Yeah, radiator's bigger than my living room.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, certainly a phenomenal bit of kit.
I might see if I can have a chat with Tim later on. I know he's here. He's got the team, hasn't he? So, but this low. I mean, I watched the historics go out. Look, what's your favourite? And I know that might mean that you'll fall out with some people in the club, Gary. But I'm here to ask the difficult questions.
I mean, my friends sort of like say I'm a gearbox man, but I got brought up with 100cc stuff, direct drive, and you know, driving those, it's just pure. It is. It's proper karting. The one we talked about with no bodywork, you know, with the little Nerf bars, to me that was the era. Now I don't know whether that was because I was a youngster and I was growing up and that was the kart that I drove that I remember. But yeah, I do like all karts, all categories.
I think everyone's going to have a partisan sort of position of where they were, because like I look back at like F1 and like the 90s for me that I started watching is the best era, and then everyone will tell me, I know the 80s were better or now modern era's better.
Exactly,
so
yeah.
but I think the thing with this is everyone's going to have an opinion on what's best, and most of it's down to what you drove or what era you came through.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, your memories are always when you're a youngster and you first get into something and first see it. But yeah, I think, you know, for me, the 100cc, pure driving, there weren't anything to adjust. We didn't have driver coaches and things like that back then, like the modern guys have got. It was just, you'd go out there, you'd set your tyre pressures and off you go. Proper good racing.
And events like this where everybody sort of comes together. I mean, I was here 2 years ago and the historic paddock was nowhere near as big as this that day. I think we got to about here and stopped, and now we can go right the way around the corner. We've seen loads more karts come, and everybody's sort of here just for the same reason, just to have a good time. But you know, the SuperPrix as a whole, it's a massive event, isn't it?
Yeah, the SuperPrix is kind of like predominantly the main historic event that we have. And you know, I must say thanks to the club, everybody who puts effort into running this club and this event, they need a big thank you. And you know, you guys are here every year doing the filming. Again, thanks to you, your team, you do a great job. You know, subscribe to your channel, you do some great videos and a lot of promotional stuff for all karting. It's brilliant to see that.
Gary, yeah, pleasure. Thank you very much for taking the time to walk me through some of these wonderful karts.
Absolutely, thank you.